Every PCS season, I see really well-deserving military families that are relocating here to the greater Dayton area miss out on the perfect house, not because they necessarily did anything wrong, but because they don't necessarily understand how the Dayton market works. So if you're PCSing to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, this video can save you time, a lot of stress, and a lot of frustration. Wright-Patterson supports almost 38,000 military and civilian jobs, which means people are coming and going all the time from the greater Dayton area, especially Centerville, Beaver Creek, and Fairborn, practically all year long. So not just in the spring or the summer, these tips can definitely help you out, especially if you're PCSing here from anywhere in the country to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So today I'm going to touch base on about 5 different topics that can help you when it comes time for you to PCS, that can save you a lot of frustration. So stay tuned. I do a lot of work with our veterans and even our civilians that are coming here to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And the number one thing I see a lot of them make in terms of a mistake is they don't actually start their home buying process or even their home search until they are officially relocated and they're here in the greater Dayton area. And that can be really frustrating for a lot of families, especially if you have families that are in school and you have a specific area that you need to be in. Right now, especially in Beaver Creek and Fairborn and even Centerville, the average day on market for a lot of homes can be anywhere from 10 to 15 days. Now this is a little bit lower than most other areas, and it is because we have such an active military personnel population here in the greater Dayton area. So people are always coming and going, and they have very strict deadlines. So sometimes faster and during peak seasons, even if you're looking in spring or even in the summer. So by the time you land and get settled and you start touring homes, a lot of the good options, they're already gone. Now this doesn't mean you have to necessarily buy sight unseen, but you do need to plan early. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to know exactly what your price point is, but you should have a good idea of what your price point is going to be prior to moving here to the greater Dayton area. And you must also know what your must-haves are for those neighborhoods. Do you have kids that are in school, and are schools important to you? What is your commute going to look like, and what is your out of the Wright-Patterson area life going to look like? What sort of activities do you like to enjoy with your family? And you also want to know what is a good deal when you actually see it, and not just what you perceive to be a good deal because you're not familiar with what happens here in the greater Dayton area. Now, if you're active duty and you're moving here and you know what your base housing allowance is, it can actually cause a little bit of sticker shock, especially if you're looking for different homes in different areas. So your BAH is based on regional averages, not just a specific house. So 2 homes here in the greater Dayton area that are the exact same price can actually vary and have dramatic differences in terms of their monthly payment, and that is going to affect your BAH. So here's an example. If you're looking at homes in Montgomery County, which is where Centerville is, or if you're looking at homes in Greene County, where you find homes in Beaver Creek or Fairborn, those 2 properties, even though they may have the same price, can have dramatic differences in terms of the monthly payments. Greene County typically is going to have a little bit lower on the tax scale in terms of your property taxes, and a lot of times in Greene County you don't actually have city income tax. So that's something to consider there as well. Also, you want to look at what the school district taxes are. If you're comparing Beaver Creek and Fairborn, the school taxes in Beaver Creek are going to be a little bit higher than they are in Fairborn. So that is, once again, going to make a difference in terms of your monthly payments, especially if you're looking at 2 homes with the exact same price. Also, a lot of homes in Beaver Creek have HOAs. There are a lot of new communities there just because of all of the military personnel we have coming and going. And those newer communities have HOAs. And those HOAs could be monthly, they could be annual, they could be small, they could be large. It really depends on the type of home that you're looking for. So making sure that you budget for that also is going to be extremely crucial. Plus, if you're looking at a home that maybe is more historic versus brand new, your insurance premiums are also going to be dramatically different. So that is going to change what your monthly payment is going to be. So just looking at the price of the home compared to everything else is not necessarily going to get you across the finish line. I've seen PCS families all the time that come into the area, they have a budget in mind, and they want to see the exact same priced home in Beaver Creek that they do in Centerville, and then they find out at the end of the day, especially if they're at the top of their price point, that the monthly payment is going to be dramatically different. So knowing those things in advance and talking to somebody that knows the ins and outs of all these different areas is going to be crucial when it comes time for you to move here to the greater Dayton area. Now, of course, commuting time is going to be a big factor when you're PCSing here to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And commuting can be more than just how long it takes you to get to the base. It can also be if you have to take your kids to school or just what your lifestyle really requires. A lot of people that PCS here to the base have to be within a certain range of the Air Force Base. And some of them have a lot greater flexibility, and they look for properties that are around a 15-minute to 25-minute commute time. Now, here's a fun fact. Almost anywhere you live in the greater Dayton area, especially as it pertains to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, you're going to have a commute time that's usually no more than 25 minutes. In fact, for the most part, your commute time is going to be 15 minutes regardless of where you're moving. But here are some really strong things to take into consideration. Let's say you're looking to move into Beaver Creek, which is just on the outskirts of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Beaver Creek is known for their strong schools. They do have slightly higher taxes, but that area is extremely popular, especially with a turnover rate, which helps keep those houses at a strong value. So if you're looking at something where you're only going to be in the property for 4 years and you know that you're going to be relocating out of the area again after your 4 years is up, Beaver Creek is a really good option because there's always somebody else that's PCSing into the area that can more than likely purchase your home, especially if you're financing and you're using your VA benefits. A lot of times those VA loans can be assumable. It's a little bit of a difficult process, but it's definitely something to keep in mind when the time comes for you to sell, if you choose to sell. Now, likewise, just outside of Beaver Creek is Fairborn. Fairborn has a little bit lower pricing scale, and it is a lot closer to the base, and it becomes a lot more affordable. So if the short commute time, being right there within just a few minutes of the base, is important to you, Fairborn is going to be a really good option for you to take a look at. Outside of that, you have your southern Dayton neighborhoods, which a lot of people do choose, and that includes Kettering, Centerville, and even Bellbrook. So you do have a little bit of a longer drive. You're going to have some more traffic because we do have a higher population in those areas, but the lifestyle itself is going to be a little bit quieter. And oftentimes you can find slightly lower taxes. Not extreme, but slightly lower. So depending on what your needs are, here's a breakdown of exactly what you would want to look for when it comes time to figuring out what's my commute going to be once I PCS to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Now, aside from looking at things like insurance, taxes, HOA fees, school taxes that could raise or decrease your monthly payment by $300 to $500 a month, also looking at your commuting times in terms of what your lifestyle really needs to be like, assuming that you're PCSing here to Wright-Patt and you're wanting to use your VA benefits, which I strongly recommend. I work with a lot of veterans and I know the value of utilizing these benefits and how it can affect your family for the better. But VA loans, although they are one of the best benefits available, they need to be structured correctly in order to be competitive, especially in an area where sometimes we do see multiple offers and homes that will sell within 10 to 15 days, as I mentioned earlier. So in popular Wright-Patt neighborhoods, multiple offers are very common. You do see a lot of people that potentially are PCSing here at the exact same time. So you want to keep in mind that you could go into multiple offers. And sellers will compare the timelines and the structure, not just the loan type. So if you're looking to use your VA benefits, you want to make sure that you structure it properly. Now, VA loans are not weak whatsoever. VA loans are fantastic products. I would fair to say that VA loans are one of the more stable financial products that our veterans can use, but you can lose if the offer isn't clean. If you haven't outlined all the terms of the offer that not only benefits you and help you utilize those VA benefits, but also show the seller that the benefit of using a VA loan on their property is a plus. And we can't always depend on the agent that represents the seller on that end to relay that. So you want to make sure that you have a really clean offer. And you also want to make sure the time frames are clear. You want to make sure that you have your orders, you know exactly when you're relocating, and those time frames are firm. Anything other than that, a seller may consider somebody else that maybe is not using those VA benefits whatsoever. Also, appraisal. The appraisal strategy is something that I take very seriously, especially if you go into multiple offers. Sometimes you can go over asking price if you find the right house for you and your family and you really want to get in there, but you want to make sure that the sellers understand the appraisal process and also anything that could happen to the property that would halt the appraisal process. We've talked about this before. We look for broken glass, we look for chipped paint, we look for anything that is a structural damage to the property. Of course, we're going to take that into consideration when we write the offer, but if it's something that you and myself as a seasoned veteran benefit user understands about the appraisal process, if we see peeling paint or something that's going to halt the appraisal, we're going to address it up front and tell that seller we would like for them to handle that prior to the appraisal, so there are no delays whatsoever and our time frame remains clear. So once again, VA loans work great. They just need to be used the right way. And the number 5 mistake I see is a lot of people trying to DIY their PCS. So PCS moves already come with enough stress, right? Your orders are changing, you potentially have to look for temporary housing, so there's school enrollment deadlines either you're before or you've missed it, and there's overlapping time frames in terms of when your appliances, your furniture, everything like that is going to arrive and how you organize all of that. That's something that myself and my loan officers that I work with very closely that specialize in VA loans will help you work out and navigate long before you ever come here to the greater Dayton area. So trying to manage the housing side without a clear plan, it can definitely lead to paying rent and a mortgage at the same time, which nobody wants to do that. You could miss out on your deadlines and miss out on your contract deadlines and potentially lose your earnest money. And also, it will force you to settle for a house that doesn't fit your terms long term, your needs long term. So you want to make sure you have that plan far before you come out here. DIYing it yourself and just winging it based off of arbitrary timeframes can cost you a lot of headaches, and maybe get you into a home that you shortly find out 6 months later is not necessarily going to be the right home for you. So just to recap, some of the things you should be considering if you are starting the PCS process or know you're going to be PCSing here to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is to first start early. Even if you think that your commander is not going to be giving you those orders for another 2 or 3 months, but you know they are coming, start the process now so that you have a game plan and you're ready to go the moment you get those orders. Also, understand what your real payment's going to be. Compare the home values in point A and point B, whether it be Centerville, Fairborn, Beaver Creek, Kettering, Bellbrook. Look at the taxes, take a look at the school taxes, take a look at any sort of income tax that you may have, and see how those are going to affect your monthly payments so that you don't bust the bank. Also, pick neighborhoods that are good for your lifestyle and your cost. Don't only consider the commute to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, consider what the lifestyle is going to be like once you move in there. That is going to be crucial. Also, making sure you use your VA loan strategically. It's not just a matter of, well, are you going to use VA loan or are you going to go conventional or FHA? If you're using the VA loan, we need to be strategic and we want to make sure we express the value and show the security to the seller who may not have a lot of knowledge when it comes to VA loans. Also, don't wing that PCS timeframe. Make sure you know exactly how everything's going to fall into line. And a lot of times before those orders actually arrive, we can actually get written responses from the commanders that say that this is coming. So if you want to get a head start on it, you can do that. Now, I know a lot of my veterans say, well, I don't want to bother my superior officer with that sort of information, but these superior officers expect it. They know this is coming. They do this on a regular basis. So you're not necessarily bothering them with information that they don't want to take care of. They're ready to help you and ready to help make that transition really smooth. So my name's David Moyer. I'm with Keller Williams Advisors here in Dayton, Ohio. I'm also with David Moyer Real Estate, obviously. I've been in the business for about 21 years, and I help my veterans every single day moving in and out of the greater Dayton area when they're coming here to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And a lot of times, even after they leave the area and they retire down the road, I find a lot of my veterans that are moving back to the greater Dayton area because our affordability here is so fantastic. It's something that they see as a great value for their family. So if you're PCSing to Wright-Patt and want mapping this out before you move, I'm always happy to be a resource, even if you're just in the planning stages or have some simple questions. As a matter of fact, if you have any questions, just drop them below in the comments. I would love to hear from you, and maybe your question could answer a question that somebody else out there has, but they're too afraid to ask. So thanks for joining me. If this is your first time, make sure you like the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel and feed the algorithm so other veterans that are moving here to Wright-Patterson can take advantage of watching these videos, and I look forward to hearing from you real soon. Thanks again.